We grind in the trenches, yeah, we put in the work. From the 50-yard line to the stain on the shirt. It ain't just a game, it's the lessons we teach. Practicing what we play and what we preach. It's the X's and O's and watching them grow. The playbook for life that you need to know. Where the gridiron grit meets the family time. We lace them up tight and lead from the line. Where fatherhood meets football. I got you. You got me. We got it. Here is your host, Coach Mac. Got you. You got me. We got us. Here is your host, Coach Mac. Coach Mac. Coach Mac. Here is your host, Coach Mac. Coach Mac.
Yo, welcome back to Lead from the Line. I'm Coach Mac, and today's topic is one that a lot of dads and coaches get wrong. Discipline. Not the yelling, not the harshness, not the anger, but real discipline. You know, that kind that builds strength, respect, and confidence in a young man. If you want to raise a leader, you need to teach discipline the right way. How y'all doing, everybody? Welcome in again to Lead from the Line. I'm excited today to share this episode with you. As always, we're going to kind of break this down into several different sections. We're going to talk about a couple of things and some real life teaching on each of these lessons. Just a reminder, I am filming this, so if you see me looking down, it's not again to read a script. It's just to make sure that I get the right information out and that I don't talk your ear off and talk for 76 days. So let's get into it. A lot of the people think that discipline is love, not punishment. And it is. Discipline is love, not punishment. So discipline a lot of the time gets misunderstood. Most people think that when you discipline someone, you have to punish them. And that couldn't be further from the truth, right? You can discipline somebody and still absolutely do it out of love, right? Discipline is more of like preparation. So what you do when you discipline a child is that you are shaping that child into someone who can handle any situation that they're put in life, right? So they can handle being responsible when they get older, and they're responsible for their homework, responsible for, keeping their cell phone charged so their parents can get a hold of them, keeping gas in their car when they got to go to and from places. It also helps shape kids to handle pressure. When we start talking football and we're talking pressure, even at a young age, these kids feel pressure. So I've told y'all about my 9-year-old football team that I coach. Leading up into the Super Bowl, we asked these kids like, hey, are you feeling the pressure? What's going on, kind of what's going through your head. And to hear 9 and 10-year-old kids talking about they feel the pressure around a football game, that lets you know that it starts at an early age, right? And then on top of that, it just discipline prepares kids to deal with adversity. I'm one of those dads that always talk to my kids about life isn't rainbow and glitter. And anything you want in life, you're gonna have to go get. It's rare that somebody knocks on your door, doom, 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 and like, you know what? You're the chosen one. Here you go. And they hand everything to you. They hand you the blueprint. They hand you everything that you could ever need to succeed. If it was like that, it would be a boring world, right? Because then what would everything look like? Nobody would face real adversity. And so disciplining a child is crucial, but you got to do it the right way. Again, everything we talk about and we've talked about so far in these episodes is everything can be done, but it has to be done the right way. And this is really, really crucial when it comes to discipline. Right. Punishment to me is an emotional reaction, and you get kind of an emotional reaction when you punish a kid, right? If I were to tell one of my players, like, you didn't do this right, you failed, go run a lap. I'm going to feel some type of way about that, and they're going to feel some type of way about that as well. Where discipline, though, is intentional correction. Hey, you didn't do this right. We've talked about this. We've seen the film. We've seen you do it right 99% of the time. So now we got to correct that. There's a difference in that. Hey, son, you're supposed to clean up your bedroom. You're supposed to be respectful to your mother. We've talked about that. Now let's correct the situation. You see the difference in those. Punishment and discipline kind of go hand in hand, but it's the way of how you do it. And if you punish someone out of love, it's totally different than if you punish them out of emotions. So definitely keep that in mind in any situation. So when you go to discipline someone with calmness. So if I can talk to one of my kids that I coach or talk to my sons and my voice stays the exact same the entire time, you build trust. They're going to trust, hey, my dad, hey, my coach, yes, they're having to discipline me, but they're doing it because they care. But then when you discipline with anger, you build fear. And then that fear adds to that pressure that I mentioned previously. Your kids are fearful of messing up. And when you get a kid, I don't care what sport they're playing, you get an adult, I don't care what sport they're playing too. And if the fear of failure or messing up is there, they will make mistakes at every single level. You want your kids to be free when they're playing sports. You want your kids to be free when they're in your home, right? You want them to feel so safe and so trusted at home. Now, again, I always talk to my boys, they get a little too comfortable at times, but their home is safe. It's that safe place. And so, man, you got to make sure that discipline comes out of a place of love and that you do it calmly. So next thing too is all about structure, right? Boys need structure. Girls do too, but oh my goodness, not as much as boys. My boys have got to have a clear outline of I need you to take your backpack upstairs. I need you to unload your backpack. I need you to hang your backpack up. I need you to, whatever it may be, you have to make sure that you give a little boy the exact guidelines of what they need to do. This goes the same way when we're talking about on a football field. Like, boys don't fear rules. They fear inconsistency. And so that's one of the things that I try to provide my boys all the time is like, I need you to do it and I need you to do it this way. Same with the kids I coach. Hey, here's our play, right? We're going to run 42 blast. Here's this play and here's the outcome of this play. Okay. So now I need you to let me know how we get from point A to point B. Okay. And then if you kind of clear out all that middle work for them and like, okay, well, here's our play and here's how we get it, go accomplish it. Right. Sometimes all the little details of, oh, I got to block and do this. Oh, I got to step and do this. Man, we have to look for this can cause more confusion than anything. So it's all about simplifying them, right? Give them that groundwork and just so they can consistently do the same thing, play after play after play, cleaning your room day after day after day. All this goes hand in hand. And one thing that I've noticed is that when expectations are clearly outlined, kids relax. They're able to focus more. They're able to feel safe. They perform better and they respect more. Again, I just mentioned it. When we were able to tell our kids, hey, we're in the most important week of the season. We made it to the final season or the final week of the season. The Super Bowl game is in a few days. Let's relax. Let's have fun. However, let's make sure that we pay attention to the little details. Let's make sure that we're locked in and that we get done and we accomplish what we want to accomplish this week so that when that first whistle blew for the Super Bowl game, we were ready to go. And I think that changed absolutely everything for our preparation that weekend. And I could sense it in the boys. I could sense just the way they approached the game, right? They felt so comfortable. They felt so prepared. And then when that adversity hit, they knew how to handle it, right? When the game was tight, when we fumbled, when we weren't making the plays, when we hadn't scored and the game was getting closer and closer to being over, you saw them still know like, hey, we're in this and we got this. And then we put together that final drive and we were able to make it work, right? So now when you tie this into your home life, clear morning routine. I have to tell my boys, we're going to wake up. I need you to go ahead and get dressed. I need you to get your hair done. I need you to go ahead and put your shoes on. We'll go ahead and get breakfast, and then we'll be ready to go. Because inevitably, if I do not give them that those expectations or that routine, they're going to skip one of those things. And then they're going to be sitting down, not ready to go for school, not ready to go to school, not having their shoes on, or that backpack is not packed. And so just really boom, 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 boom. I need you to do this, this, and this. And it really seems to help everything out. And then same thing with practice, right? Practice expectations. Here's what we're going to do. Here's our practice plan today. We're going to start with, on an offensive day, we're going to warm up. Then we're going to break out and we're going to do position groups. Then we're going to break it together and we may do half the offense together while the receivers are running a drill, or half the offense while the running back's running a drill. And then we're going to come together and we're going to do half line versus a pass rush. And by setting that expectations, and I think it became really apparent with our boys, is they knew what each and every practice was going to look like. They knew what to expect. And I felt like that just makes the practices run smooth, right? Boys just need that structure. Again, like I said, girls do too, but I don't, with my teenage daughters, well, not much longer. They're, one's about to be 20, but they didn't need all that. They just could get their stuff done. They pretty much handled everything. I didn't have to say, I need you to do it this way. Girls seem to grasp that a little quicker than boys do. And unfortunately, some of us never get it. Some of us guys are still struggling to this day to understand that structure and to make our lives easier. And most of the time, that's why we get married, right? But anyways, we'll move on past that. So, but I just think another thing too, clear respect expectations, right? This is one of the things that I don't play about. And I tell my kids all the time, you can disrespect me, but you better not disrespect your mother. You better not disrespect any other adult or authority figure outside of my household. And that's something I stand on. Now, do I want them to disrespect me? No. Do they disrespect me? No, not really. They're young boys, but that's my biggest thing. You can disrespect anybody. You can disrespect me, but don't you disrespect anybody else. And that's one thing that I don't play about. And I think it goes to just how I was raised. Man, even to this day, I'm obviously from Texas. You can see my Dallas hat, so there's no secret here. But being a kid who was raised up in West Texas, a small town, like everybody knew everybody, and I think just respect is something that I hung my hat on. Right, I'm not gonna do something in this small town that is going to get back to my mom. Not at all. Like if my mom gets a call that I'm in trouble like that would break my heart. That would break her heart. And that's just not something that I wanted to do. So that's one thing with everybody I coach, with my boys at home, with just be respectful, because that matters. And so, and this one to me is more of a thing outside of the sport. Okay. I mean, be respectful to your teammates, be respectful to your coaches, but this is one, we're only with these kids a couple of days a week for practice and in a game. The teachers have them all year, have them multiple days. Be respectful to those teachers. Be respectful to your parents who are getting you to practices. And then, same thing. If your dad is your coach, sometimes I've seen kids who their dad coaches them and they can, make a response to their parents that they probably wouldn't make to another coach. You kind of got to separate that as well. So just make sure that the respect is there. And then you've laid everything else out, clear consequences. Here's what happens if I don't get you to do what I need you to do. And again, this isn't that punishment. This isn't that discipline out of emotion. This is just that, hey, this is what we've talked about. The expectations. When we run a 42 blast, you're supposed to step this direction. You're supposed to take the ball with this hand. You're supposed to clean up your bedroom. I hope in these first couple of episodes, right, that you're really starting to get a clear idea of what all this means, right? Lead from the line. And so while we talk a lot about sports, again, I'm going to say this, we're going to beat this, we're going to beat this. This has everything to do with sports and parenting. And I just don't want you to miss that, because everything that can can be talked about when it comes to coaching is the same thing when it comes to parenting. If you can give these kids the structure and the outline that they need to be successful, that can carry them when they're playing their sport, when they're in the classroom, when they're out in public, and when they're at your house. And that right there means more to me than anything, you know? And then I think another thing too, as we move on, is just coach without emotion. And this is my biggest area where I struggled. And I think a lot of it is because I'm so loud. And so I got to be careful with my tone just in general, because I'm just a loud person. I'm loud. I'm happy. I have high energy. But that matters, right? Not everybody knows that my happy tone is all good, right? I have to make sure that they understand, hey, look, here's where this is coming from. This is coming out of love. This is coming from a good place. My intentions, my heart is pure. Here's what I need from you, right? And so by learning to talk to the kids in a calm way versus, you know, your kids you're coaching versus your kids at home, talk to them calm. Kids respond to calmness, you know, and kids shut down at chaos. Man, I've told the story on one of the previous episodes about my son dropping the bed on his foot. You know, he and I dropping the bed on his foot, and he was upset. My older son was upset. Wife was upset. Everybody was going crazy. Son didn't want me to take him to get an x-ray. I mean, everything was just wild. Chaos in the house. Little brother was like, oh no, it's his foot. He's going to miss football. Just everything chaotic going on in the house. So when we get in the car, I asked my son, Boston, my 9-year-old, I said, dude, are you good? He goes, Dad, I do not like when everybody comes up into my face and asks me, am I okay? And they freak me out and they make me think about, man, my foot's broke, or the worst, right, in that situation. So he's like, when something happens, he goes, I just want you to come ask me if everything's okay. And I'm like, beautiful. And that right there was a proud moment too. And my 9-year-old son was able to tell me his feelings at the moment. And that's something too that we'll talk about as we go on, is like, feelings are everything. Speak up. You know, whether you're a child, whether you're a mom, whether you're a dad, whether you're the daughter, no matter what you are, speak up on your feelings and your emotions. Do never be afraid to share that. Share how you're feeling in every situation. There's always somebody out there who's experienced stuff, and there's people out there that can help you. That's something that I really, really want to reiterate as well. Like, mental health matters when you get in that situation. I understand we're talking about feeling something else, but I really wanted to throw that in right now. Like, speak up. If there's ever an issue, everything you're going, do not be afraid to speak up, you know. And then kids mirror your emotional state. So when things are happening, if I'm freaking out, everybody's freaking out. Again, that's the kind of situation we were in. You know, I wasn't freaking out. I had already done the math in my head of, if his toe's broken, we're still going to be okay before football season. Terrible way to look at it, but I'm glad that everything worked out in that situation. So here's some good phrases too that I've kind of learned when it comes to coaching coaching kids, or even at home, is, hey, try it again. Hey, let's do that again. Let's run this play again. It was never a, you messed up. That was terrible. What are you doing? Hey, let's try that again. But you hear the calmness in the tone. Hey, let's fix this together. We've talked about this. This again, we've seen this on film. Here's what we're doing. We need to step this way. Let's fix this together, instead of, you need to fix that. That's a you problem. You messed up. Again, this is an area where I struggle. Probably still struggle a little bit, but this is the area where I'm really trying to change as a coach, change as a father, just stay calm and everything. Hey, everybody, let's reset. That's another thing you can do in practice. Let's reset. And you can do all those again. Let's try it again. Let's fix this together. All those go hand in hand. And hey, this is one of my favorite ones right here. Hey, you know the standard. You know what's expected of you. You know what we require. Let's try it again. You see what I'm saying? It just changes everything when your tone is there. You know, as you can see, I'm a hands talker. Like, I'm energetic. I want y'all to get this, you know. That's why I had to do the video version too, where I know people want to listen on Spotify, Apple Music and everything, but you can watch too and see that my hands are moving. It's just who I am, right? Again, I think this is leadership. When you're able to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I didn't handle that situation well. I wasn't calm enough in that situation right there. That's leadership. That's huge. And that's not intimidating a kid either. That's just saying, hey, I want to be the best I can be for you, just as I want the best for you in your life, in your football career, your basketball career, your baseball career, whatever we're talking. And then football can be used as a discipline teacher, right? Football naturally teaches repetition. You don't just run one play one time and you're like, hey, we got it. We can run this play to perfection, right? You run that play over and over and over and over again. Football also teaches focus. When you're coaching young kids, this is hard right here. This is one of my biggest pet peeves at football practice. When you have 11 people out there running a drill and you got a couple backups standing to the side and they're talking to each other. Drives me absolutely up the wall. You know, ideally, I want to see those couple kids that aren't in spread out, spaced out on the line, watching their position, not talking. I get it. 9 and 10 years old. Very, very hard to do. However, that's just something that, you know, we're going to talk about stuff in coaching that I'm just going to be honest. I can't stand that one. And so football can teach that focus. It really, really can. Correction. Again, hey, let's work on this together. Let's reset. Let's try this again. Hey, you got to step this direction. When we're pass blocking, you got to do this. Linemen, don't catch the defensive tackle as he's coming in. Meet him, fire off the ball, and block that guy. All those things can be talked about. Accountability. Hey, you're the last line of defense on the outside. If you get sucked in and you let the guy get up, hit the corner, that's on you. You got to be willing to say, hey, I messed up on that situation, right? And then, hey, let's reset. Let's do it again. It's okay. Next play mentality is something that, I'm really going to, as we go into next season, really start preaching with these kids. Mistakes are going to happen, but that next play mentality. You're going to miss an extra point, but that next play mentality. You're going to miss a tackle, next play mentality. One play, it can decide a game, but a lot of the times there are more plays throughout a game that determine the outcome of a game. Football also teaches consequences, right? Hey, what happens if you're disrespectful? That's the one I want to hit on. What happens if you're disrespectful? There's consequence to that. What happens if we don't practice to the standard that we are and we miss a block or we do whatever? Ultimately, again, as I just said, one play doesn't always determine the outcome of a game, but it can. You should never, in my opinion, look back at the end of the game and be able to go, oh, that did it right there. That was the play that broke the entire game. Again, I know it can happen, but in the middle of a game, there's many, many opportunities to make a play that can change and really impact the game. And then also just the consistency. Football teaches consistency. You got to show up to practice. Even at 9 years old, we practice 3 days a week. It's consistency. And here's what we expect. You're going to get the same out of us coaches. We want to get the same out of you players every single day. Every drill is an opportunity. Every mistake is a lesson, and every rep is discipline training. Like that's the best way to just sum that up, right? Every mistake is a lesson. Every drill is an opportunity, and every rep is discipline training. So I just really want to close it out today. Again, I'm excited. I hope whoever's watching or listening to these podcasts, I hope you're getting something out of it. If you are, if you're watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button, leave a comment. Let me know what you like. Let me know what's something you're going to take with you to the football field, the basketball arena, the diamond, what's something you're going to take home, right, to help you in parenting or whatever it may be. Feedback is crucial, and I would love that. If you're listening, smash that follow, leave a review. Again, I'm not doing this for, I want to have a successful podcast. I'm doing this because there's somebody out there that might need to hear this, right? Their son's turning 4, their daughter's turning 4. They played sports and they're getting ready to coach their kid. And they've seen other situations, or they were coached terribly growing up, or whatever it may be. And they're like, I want to do this the right way. And that's what I'm doing this for, right? And so discipline done right builds confidence. Discipline done wrong destroys it. If you want to raise a young man, discipline with calmness, clarity, and purpose.
The fourth quarter fades, the stadium clears, but the job of a dad lasts for all of the years. We studied the tape, yeah, we learned the design. Now take it to your home and lead from the line. No flags on the play, keep your vision alive. Fatherhood and football, that's how we survive.
That's the final buzzer for today. I appreciate you stepping into the huddle with me. If this episode gave you a new play to run at home or on the field, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and leave a review. It keeps the lights on. Remember, the game doesn't stop when you leave the field. Go be a champion for your family. I'm Coach Mac. Lead loud and lead proud.
Take it to your home and lead from the line. No flags on the play, keep your vision alive. Fatherhood and football, that's how we survive. That's how we survive. That's how we survive.